Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Money Mom podcast. Today, I have a very special guest who I am super excited to bring on. Someone who has been a huge help to me and in my personal life, but also in my business, and has really expanded what I thought is possible in this world and what I can create. Um, we're going to go into my story a little bit. I shared last week my story, but I wanted to bring on my coach, business mentor, the man, the myth, the legend, James Wedmore. Welcome to the podcast.
I love it. Wow, Rachel. Well, thanks for having me. And I love what you said about expanding your possibility or what's possible for you, because someone asked me in an interview years ago, what's your favorite word? I love that question. And that was easy. It was possibility. And I
Mm,
think that's been the story of my entire journey. Um, Everything that I've accomplished myself in life has all as far exceeded what I ever thought was possible in my life. And I
mm,
think just waking up every day, dreaming a little bigger, stepping into more unknown. And if there's a legacy or a message that I truly want to leave with people, like we can talk business and, bringing in an income on your own all day long. But what I think the deeper, bigger picture is really about is discovering what else is possible for you in your life, your capabilities, the impact you can have in the world, and living a better life because you discovered more of your potentiality and awakened true gifts within you. And I if I'm doing that for someone else in the world, like I'm complete. I am happy. I am fulfilled. So thank you for saying that.
yeah, love that. And we all have ceilings, right? And when you can,
Self-imposed limitations,
yes.
yes, that we believe are ceilings. Yes.
And when we can bust through that, wow, like the sky's the limit. That's
I think that's I
where the
think that's
saying comes
life. I
from.
think that is
Yeah.
life, is like discovering where those illusions of limitation are, and then busting through them is that's the juice right there.
Yeah, perfect. So my audience is obviously new to you. I share sometimes when I go to like business tradings or whatever about what you're doing. But can you just give us like a quick background on who you are, what you do, and how you help
Yeah,
the
yeah,
world?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life, and I really mean whole life. When I want to say about six, I was getting paid to water gardens for my neighbors. Okay, so I was already in business at age six. And then this is so. This is me at 6 years old. This is a true story. I would water their gardens like when they're out of town, and then I would pluck the ripe fruit because I mean you're just gonna go to waste, and then I would sell it to the other neighbors. So I it's great.
The
So
best.
my neighbors had macadamia nuts and avocado trees, and because I was in Southern California, avocados are delicious. And I'd go with a little wheelbarrow, and have my mom like walk 20 yards behind me, and I just knock on the door and be like, "No, it was a wagon. It was a little wagon, and like avocados, macadamia nuts." And I was making a little killing from being 6 years old. And so it was 2007. I was a little older at that point. I was like 25, 26 years old, that I decided to look to the internet for really my first online business. And I was really intrigued by the idea of selling digital products. So I launched my first digital product, registered the domain in 2007, November of 2007, and made my very first sale 6 months later, April 18th, 2008, for an online bartending course. Because quite frankly, that's really all I knew how to do out of college. Was I was a bartender at a restaurant called On the Border, which is like the Mexican food chain of like Chili's.
Mm,
And I was the daytime weekday bartender at On the Border. I mean, this is like my college degree, my money. My parents put all this money into my college education, and like this is what I was left with. So I was like, I want to. I'm very unemployable. I don't want to work for myself. I got to figure something out. And when I fell into this world of, there are people even back then that were just making tons of money as their own business, just teaching and sharing their knowledge. I was like, this is it. This is it for me. I was so excited about that, but I only knew how to bartend. So that's what it started. That was 2008. It's evolved since then. Since that time, I've generated, well, as of last year, 90 million in sales. We will surpass, it's crazy to say, it's crazy when the words come out of my mouth every time, $100 million in total sales, of digital products. And that's mind-boggling boggling to me, because like I was saying, I was like, I have surpassed what I thought was possible long ago. And who I am today, Rachel, like who you think you know me to be, you don't know who I was when I got started. And you wouldn't want to hire me as your coach. You wouldn't want to take a single piece of advice from me back then. I was really everything. I was actually like also very overweight. I was 225 pounds. I was covered in acne. I was very insecure. I had a lot of issues. Like I had just this like, low self-esteem, kind of dark outlook on life. And I've had a lot of growth, and it's really beautiful. And I think going on a path of entrepreneurship forces you to be on a path of personal and professional and, hey, spiritual growth as well. And so to me, I think it's just a blessing on a whole other level to be able to assist people in that as well. So whether we're helping you grow your business or just growing your life, it's been an honor to do that. And that's what we do today. So we've helped tens of thousands of people launch their digital product-based business today. And it's so fun. It's so rewarding. And the thing that I like to say is, this market was dominated by the people that were like the best marketers. And today, what we really help people with are the people that care the most, the best coaches, the people that I figured something out and I want to help other people do it. And I get so lit up and passionate about that. You're an example of that. You're someone that said, hey, I figured this thing out. How do I help more moms do that? And look at you now. So awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly, like, I didn't expect to find what my skill was, right? Like my background is not in what I do online right now, but it was the one thing that was like, oh, I am good at this. And I know people are asking me how to help with this. So obviously there's a market for it.
Right.
And I am also a serial entrepreneur. Like, talking about your story when you were 6 years old, I remember, actually, this memory just came up, and I hadn't thought about this since I was a little kid, but I one time picked dandelions and like found pretty rocks in our yard. And I made a sign out in front of the yard that was like, rocks and flowers, please. Like, and I spelt please wrong. Like it said PLES or whatever. And it was 50 cents. And my siblings, I'm the fourth of 7 kids, so I have 3 older siblings, and my siblings roasted me for days because I was trying to sell rocks in the front of our house. But it's just always been ingrained in me, and like that there is money out there, and I don't have to work a 9-to-5 job, and I don't have to go grind to make $15 an hour, and so it's always been, this opportunity is out there, you just have to find it.
Absolutely.
And I think a part of that was harder for me when I went into this phase of motherhood, right? And I think we can talk about that, because I think I know a lot of the women that listen to this podcast are moms who maybe struggle with money or are trying to learn to be better with money. And for a long time, I talked all about saving money, right? Saving money on groceries, budgeting, how to make the most of the money coming in. But I really realized last year that that's only one lever that we can,
of course it is,
as moms. And because I've done it myself, like it's part of my own story and my own expansion that I've had, was like, it started with the budgeting, and then it was like, wait, but I think I can actually make money as well as a mom. So can you speak to that, of that power, that opportunity as well?
Yeah, I want to speak a lot to it. And obviously, I'm assuming your audience knows I'm not a mom, right?
It is 2025, science.
Yeah, you never know. But I just want to make that clear. But my little sister is. And it's been really cool because, my little sister, she's actually the same personality type as you. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
I had to just tell her that recently. I was like,
that's
pay
my
attention.
Mentor.
Yeah, of course, right? I said, pay attention to Rachel, because you guys are the same. And you guys I see a lot of similarities in you guys. But my sister's had more of the people pleaser than I think you've dealt with. And so my sister watched me start this whole thing. And when I started it, I didn't invest in myself. I didn't try to learn from anybody. And I was very I think that's like the male pride thing of like, you got to figure it out your own. And I that's why it took so long for me, right?
Mm.
So my sister, so 2 kids, homeschool, and she was the primary caretaker for my father as he was getting ill and passing. So she had a lot on her plate. So at first glance, she would reflect back on watching me in that startup journey. And she said, I can't do that because I'm
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
she actually said no to this. And she told me later, we were all like at dinner and friends and family. And I said something years later, like flippantly, I'm like, well, Jill's just happy being a mom. She doesn't want to start a business. And
Mhm.
she told me later, she's like, she pulled me aside and she's like, that just broke my heart because that's what I'd been telling myself, but it wasn't true. And
Mhm.
so she invested in my program. And I was like, good for you. She bought it. She didn't do what I did and said, I'm gonna do the figured out. And she bought it. And I've watched her journey and it's so freaking cool. So she what I told her, and of course it came true, was I said, look, having kids and all the responsibilities and the time on your plate is not a circumstance that determines whether you can do it or not. It just determines how long it takes.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And I will always stand in from a perspective that if you want it, it's yours, and it's simply a matter of how much time. And we can look at it from one logical standpoint and say, hey, how many hours in a day you got? And she's like, I got 2 to 3 hours a day. It's like, okay, technically, it will take you longer than somebody that has 6 hours a day. But then, of course, there's also a concept, a real phenomenon called Parkinson's law, which is that the time of the task will fill the container of time given, right? So a lot of moms just actually figure out how to be far more productive in the pockets of time that they have than somebody that's got all day to just mess around, right? So, even to say it takes longer isn't technically true because a lot of people have more time and they don't use it wisely.
Mhm.
So my sister had to get real serious really fast, and that's what I've loved about those constraints of being a mom. And she's like no nonsense in that, and I know you're the same way. So she actually, and this is I think the way to approach it is you allow the circumstances to create the rules of the game. So for her, and her business is going to do multi six figures this year, which is so awesome, is where should I use my time and how should I build this business considering that I'm a mom and I only have a few hours a day. And she's done it from that. So here's a great example of that. She used to deliver her training live. Then she realized that's taking too much time for me. And I can only launch it so many times. So she repackages pre-recorded videos. Now she's doing webinars bi-monthly, $4,000 to $5,000 for each webinar, selling a $300 online course. And she's like, this is amazing. On top of that, she just booked a one-on-one client last week. I'm so stoked for her for $7,000. And then
Wow.
she does 1 to 2 high ticket retreats once a year. And that's her whole business. And it's pacing to do between $200,000 to $300,000. And I'm like,
So cool.
that's amazing. Obviously, the kids are getting older now. So every year it gets a little easier for her because now her daughter's about to go. Well, they're about to go in summer, but next year, longer days and more time that she'll have back. So she has one in preschool and one in, I think he's in 3rd grade now. So she's like, it's getting even easier because I'm getting more and more time every year that I stay in business. So that's the way I look at it, and yeah, I don't have kids. This is a full-time thing for me. Right. But I built the business to 2 million a year and it was really only working 2 to 3 hours a day. So I want to start with this little concept that I teach, and then I'll just throw that out there and then wherever you want to go, Rachel, is that the difference between a business and a job is that a job is something you like say yes to perform a role or function. And a year later, you're doing the same thing.
Mm.
Right. Like if
Mhm.
you hired me to be a button pusher on day one, I'm pushing that button for 8 hours. And then you fast forward in life 2 years later, I'm still doing the same thing. Right. So obviously a business is very different than a job. And so in business, there are phases. And one of the things that we teach the philosophy is that there are different phases of growth. growth happens in different phases and stages. So the first phase is you have to like build the business. What people don't understand is that you build the business so that you can run it. You don't build a business so that you can just keep building it, right? So the building phase takes and should take the most amount of time. Let's use a metaphor of like a house. Building a house takes a lot of time and work. But then once the house is built, the only thing you really got to do is maintain it. Like we just had a water leak last week. So we have to maintain that. We got to get a plumber out here to fix that. So there'll be maintenance. But we need to get people building the business, getting it built so you can get into the phase of actually running it as quickly as possible. And we can go into what that looks like and how quickly you can do that. But it really comes down to like 3 simple systems to have something built. We need to have something for sale, a great offer. We need to be able to have a way to sell it, to put it in front of our people so they go, I want it. And then, of course, we need people. We need people to find it. And if you can get those, which we do, we have our clients and students in their first 30 to 60 days, 90 days at the most, they've put those 3 systems in place. So they have something for sale, they have a way to put it in front of people, and they have the people to see it. You do that, you're in business.
Mhm. Yeah. Something that I was thinking about when you were talking about this too. And one of the reasons I love how you coach and what you do is that it's not about hustle culture. It's not about working more. It's not about working harder. It's about
Yeah.
working smarter.
Yes.
And as a mom myself, and somebody, if someone who's listening who wants to create something like this, you don't have time to throw spaghetti against a wall. Like you
Mhm.
don't have time to waste trying to figure this out. And I think I felt that way when I joined your program, was like, I am sick of not knowing what I don't know. I want to be
Wow.
efficient with my time. I want to make sure whatever I am doing is going to produce good results. And how do I know that when I've never done that before? So I'm going to get myself a coach that will get me there faster, right? And give me that efficiency that I'm not going to have on my own. And so,
Yeah.
to the mom who is like, I don't know, I want to start something, but I don't know how to start. You don't have the time to lose on this.
You really don't. And that's all it comes down to is like this is a simple philosophy for life. Everything that you want is on the other side of what you're willing to give.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're either giving time as a resource, as energy, or we give money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm someone today that now having a business is like a big commitment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And we have a big team now and we do all these things and we've built it, really massively. So I don't have the luxury to go around myself and just say, I'll just spend 6 months stumbling in the dark looking for the light switches and figure this out. I still go to who's the best here, who can just tell me, illuminate the room for me and tell me what's the best thing to do. And that's what I love is like you are always your best investment.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first heard someone tell me that 15 years ago, it changed everything for me. Is you are your best investment because the education, the wisdom, and the experience that you accrue, the guidance, the teaching, and the strategies, you take that with you wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things that I do today that I learned 10 years ago that I still apply. And I constantly want to live from having a growth mindset and continue to grow as a person. Now, the reason, and if someone's new in business, they won't really capture this yet, but your business growth is actually a reflection of your own growth. And I had a good friend who, he's one of our coaches in our community, but he's one of my closest friends, Michael Allen. He came out recently and he's a great coach. He's a wise, sage of a friend here. And he just was looking at me and he's known me since I started this business when we go way back. And he said, I've worked with so many clients in the Business by Design community and, your clients, James. And he goes, you know what it really comes down to is just how much they can stomach.
Hmm.
And I was like, it put a big smile on my face. I said, Michael, for years, I've been saying your business will grow to the level of problems you're willing to handle. And that's what I look at business as. It's a different path. It's like having kids is a path. And every parent will tell you, at least every parent's told me, because I'm getting married this year. So next
Yay.
conversation for us and Jenny, my fiance, is kids and whatnot. And what does every parent say? It's like, hey, it's one of the hardest things you'll do in your life, and it's
Mhm.
one of the most beautiful,
Yes.
amazing,
Yeah.
fulfilling, best things ever. And isn't that not true that we say that about business?
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest things you'll do. It's a lot harder than just getting a job down the street somewhere. It is harder. Of course it is. And if someone asks me, what's it like running a business? I go, it's extremely hard. And I love every second of it. And nothing has taught me more about myself, and nothing has been a catalyst for more growth. And that's just such a beautiful thing. And I'm here for that. And so what I've said is your business will grow to the level of problems you're willing to handle. And so it really, it's so true, is it's you grow. You go on a journey of your own growth, and you get mentors and coaches to help you grow, and you see that growth, boom, like the next day, the next week, the next quarter in your business. And I've seen so much tremendous growth from you. Look at where
Totally.
you were 2 years ago, and look at where you are
Totally.
today, right? And I just think that's a beautiful thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about this like a year ago. I was at the gym and I was feeling frustrated because we were like spending a lot of money. We were making a good amount of money, but we were spending a lot. And I was just like, like I need to be profitable in this business. I want to be able to make money with it
Yeah.
too. And I had this thought come to me that was like, even if you just broke even in this business, it will have been more than worth it because of the person that you've become while
Wow.
doing it.
Yeah.
And the transformation that's happened inside of me, my world, the experience, the joy that I have in this life is so much bigger and better than it was before. So who cares about the money? It's about me and my personal growth. It's worth it 100%.
Well, and when you start getting to that place is when all the money comes in. You know what I mean? Like when you're like, who cares about the money? And it's so true, especially in this type of business that we're talking about, when it's about service first and impact and how can I help anyone that's willing to hear what I got to say, it always comes back.
Yeah.
And so I think when I had a huge catapult in our growth when we went from 2 to 10, when it said, I'm not doing this for the money anymore. The money is nice. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, and we all deserve, everyone here, we all deserve to live a life where we experience more than enough.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Yeah.
deserve that. That is our birthright. And I stand by that. Right. And money isn't the most important thing either. Not the most important thing. And I think that comes down to healing our relationship with money too. You can't make it more important than your family, your health, living this amazing life that we get to live. And we all deserve to have more than enough. And I think the reason I chose business was because of that, going back to that word possibility. I didn't like the idea of having my income or earning potential capped.
Yeah.
And as long as you have a job, that's the case. And I was like, I believe that if I want more, nothing should get in the way of me getting more. And these are like young kid conversations I was having, I was like, if I want to earn more, nothing should be in the way of that. Maybe I got to work more or sell more or do more or whatever, but the earning potential is there. And that was when I realized, like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, so, and that's the case. So digital products I've been doing this for 18 years, and I'm always got my tentacles out at what everyone's doing and watching and looking, closely at things and different businesses and stuff like this. But selling digital products is still hands down, it's the most profitable. I mean, think about that, because it doesn't take a ton of money. We can talk about how much money it takes to get started, because people ask me that all the time.
Yeah.
It is the most scalable. Okay. Because if you created your first online course, what throttles growth, whether one person joins or 1 million people join? There's no like, oh, we don't have enough inventory. It's all digital. It's not like we need a warehouse to store it.
Yeah.
And it is hands down, it is the most fulfilling. Just like what you were mentioning before, is unbelievably fulfilling. It's so cool to have worked with your sister, to work with you, and to hear your guys' stories and your growth it's a joy for me every day. And that's why I do it. That's why I do it. So it's the most profitable, it's the most scalable, and it's the most fulfilling, hands down. Now your heart has to be in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it has to be something like, this is what I want to do. This is what I truly want to do. There's a really cool stat I've been sharing recently. We did some research because I always love to stay up to date on the research. So like I said, I've been doing this since 2007. It's when I first registered my first domain. And in the last 10 years, the global e-learning market has grown by over 200 billion globally. So it puts it at just over like 320 something billion as its current market evaluation. 320 something billion. I think it's 327.13 billion. And it grew by 200 billion in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to a lot of people that have very like distorted, short-term, skewed perspectives. They say like, oh, that's it. I should have gotten in. It's too late for me
Too
now.
late. Yeah. Yeah.
The same market research companies predict 550 billion increase in the next 8 years.
Wow.
So that's more than like 2.5 times growth in 8, not 10 years, in 8 years. I think we are on the precipice of something big. You see it, the Q1 trend that I've seen with our clients in 9 years of teaching this. I've been helping people get their business off the ground for 9 years. I have never in 9 years, true story, as the kids would say, no cap.
You got the riz.
I got the riz. Amazing. I love it. I love it. We've been spending too much time on TikTok.
Yeah. We got to get off.
We got to get off TikTok. I have never seen more of our students have bigger growth than right now in 2025.
Yeah.
Clients that are having their biggest Q1, that are doubling the Q1 from last year. They're on track to double their business from last year. Their biggest launches, their biggest months, and their biggest quarters. Like that is so exciting to me. And I don't know. It's like the time is now. If it's, I'm not here to. I don't like convincing anybody. It's never what I'm going to do, because the only thing I want to convince you of is do what you're here to do. Do what you love. Do what lights you up. Do what makes you feel like it's not a day of work in your life. I am recording this. Thank you, Rachel, on a Saturday, and I have no problem with that. It's fine with me. I'm happy. This doesn't feel like work to me. I feel like I'm having just a conversation with a good friend. So do the thing that lights you up. And I bring all that up to say, if this has been something you wanting to do, it's been nagging at you, or you're hearing about it for the first time and it's like pulling you forward, don't wait. And I think that is the first big enemy to people's success, is anything that is preventing action. Procrastination, hesitation, perfectionism, overcomplication. These are all derivatives of fear. They're all mechanisms of protection. It's safe in the familiar. It's safe in the comfort zone. It's safe on the sidelines. Or we believe it is. Of course it is. It's safe for your ego. You don't have to risk anything. You don't have to risk looking bad, making a mistake, or being stupid, not knowing how to do something, or doing it wrong. I dealt with all that stuff. And the antidote is action. Mm-hmm. And now is the time to get started, is the bottom line there.
Yeah. And I was so afraid. I was so afraid to put myself out there, not necessarily like on social media, but just to like go all in on myself, to bet on myself. And
what were you afraid was?
I was afraid that I was going to put in all this effort and not build anything successful.
So that it would just be like, was it more that if that happened, it would just be a bunch of waste of time?
Or it was an ego. It was my ego. It was like it's going to hurt so bad if I fail at this.
Wow.
And I remember, like, I talked about this on stage this last year, but I remember sitting at my first BBD Live and like literally like I was sick the whole week in my stomach, because I was like, I want this so bad. And I saw, and this is something also that I love about you and the community that you've built, is we're not talking like one-hit wonders here. We're talking like, it's like any niche, any skill set, any type of digital product. Like, you've got it all. You've got the whole, we have somebody that like teaches people how to knit cats.
Yes. Like, crochet kittens.
Yeah. She like crochets kittens.
We've got vintage corset making. We've got singing lessons. We've got pretty much every musical instrument, including like music production you could think of. teaching how to be a voiceover artist. Like there's
It's
everything.
everything. It's anything in there. And but what you teach and how you teach it works for any type of online business, anything. And
Yeah,
also, because I'm on the in, I get the in. I get to
you
go to
are.
the events. I get to see
You're on
who's
the inside.
there. What percentage, first off, it's like what, 90% women? And
Hmm.
then what percentage of that are moms? Like
Yeah, I mean,
99% of the 90%? Like, it's like
probably. I
we
mean,
are
of every
all,
age. Like some are like their kids are already out of the
yeah.
house. So to just like literally, they're people bringing their newborns or they're pregnant in the room. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to bring you on the podcast and talk about the training that you're doing next week or this week, when this podcast
Airs. Yeah.
releases. Yeah. Um, is that there's a reason moms are drawn to you is because this type of business, and I'm speaking from myself and all of the other
Yeah.
moms that I'm friends with, is like, it is such an easy thing to do from home where you can create content whenever you need to. You can do it on your phone. You can do it during nap time. Like, it is
Yeah.
so easy to build something that is beyond the cap ceiling that you get at a W-2 job.
Right.
Like the earning potential's there, but it's also the time freedom that you have running a business from home is unlike anything else. And
It's
this opportunity to bring in money for your household on your own time, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or you are working a job, like there's so much opportunity in it.
and the thing is like we can talk about the money too, right? Like
Yeah.
I have clients I've worked with. I think what I love is I've had people that, like my sister, she went in less than 30 days. She was making money. And she set her goal, and she said, okay, I want to fill the beta. We can talk about that if people want to have an explanation of that. And she goes, okay, my goal is 3. And then she told me, like, she got quiet and she's like, but honestly, if I'm really being honest, like, I just want 1 because 1 will tell me this is doable. And she sold it for, I think it was $111. And I knew it was obviously underpriced, but I didn't want to tell her that because I wanted her to experience that. And she later came back and said, why did I charge so little? So her goal was 3, but her secret goal was like, I just want 1 just to prove it. She had no website. She'd been posting for 30 days. That was it. That was her whole business, was posting on Instagram for 30 days. And she goes, okay, I'm going to do this. And she got her 1. She got more than 3. She got 7. And then a week later, she calls me and she's like, help, I need your help. I need your help. Mayday, mayday. And I'm like, what's wrong? And she goes, well, I just finished the first call with all the people that joined, the 7 people. And now they told their friends and 2 more people want to join. What do I do?
That's a horrible problem.
Horrible job. You don't know. You're screwed. I don't know what to tell you. I'm like, bring them in. So she got her first 9 people to pay her I believe it was $111 each. So she did, I think that adds up to about, is that $1,000 and change or something like that?
Yeah.
In her first, 30 days. And that was like, I mean, I got the text message like 2 weeks later after that. She's like, this is my calling. Like I've never felt more fulfilled and lit up in my life. And to work with somebody to make their first $1,000 in 30 days, and then to work with someone who, like we have an example of a client that they just did their first multi-7-figure launch, and they were doing well before they even joined or worked with us. And now they took a launch from like 500 to almost 2 million, 500,000 to 2 million.
Wow.
And to see it at every level is really cool. We have a client that just came in to do a case study, and she just hit her first $670,000 launch. 1 webinar, by the way. She does 1 webinar, 90 minutes, and sells a $3,000 offer and did 670,000. Don't go thinking like, okay, the memberships are great too, but
wait a second, what am I doing?
Wait, yeah, well, I need a $3,000 offer. But that's her one thing, and she just had her biggest launch, and she came in, and then we took her out to dinner, and Jenny and I gave her strategies like, we just want you to do that again, and you'll double. If you do what we say, you'll double it for next time. And but I bring all this up to say we have people that are doing like their first $1,000, and we have people doing their first $1 million launches. And here's what I want to say about all of that. The biggest flex, to use another cool kid word, is the person that can generate any amount of revenue in a business profitably, consistently over time. I I give more credence and kudos to the $200,000 a year business at a 50% margin that's growing 5 to 10% year after year for the next 10 years. That's what you should be aiming for. That's what you should look for. That it's your secret ingredient is time, not some big number, not something that's like worthy to turn into a headline, but a healthy business that continues to grow off a solid foundation year after year. And the reason I say this to anyone listening is that's what you want to look at. You don't want to look at, how can I just make some money real quick today? That's great. But how do I have something that consistently grows year after year after year? Because when you get into the stuff Rachel teaches, it's when you're making any amount of additional revenue, it's what you do with that money that comes in that determines if you have long-term wealth and affluence and abundance or not. And I've seen people be wildly successful and their business doesn't do more than $500,000 a year, but they've been doing it $500,000 a year for 7 years now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really true. In the entrepreneurial world, it's so easy to just always be like more.
Exactly.
But at some point, you could also just look at this as like, if I just made $1,000 a month, what would that do for my family?
Right. Exactly.
How would that change our life? Just that little extra money. And I think that's also something that we could speak to is like, you don't have to go out and build like a full-fledged business. You can, it's 100% out there, but you could also just create a very like profitable side gig that you are not working at that much, right? Where it's just cash flowing on its own and you can create that too. There's no boundaries to this.
There's no boundaries. And I called it like the reason we called my entire training system Business by Design is that I kind of got sick of everyone out there saying, this is the thing, this is it. And I was like, BS, I've done it all. And it can all work. What it comes down to is personal preference. And it's the last question that people really ask themselves. And I think it's the first step in like your own true awakening to your best life is, well, what do I want? And you're right. More money is not the answer. More money is not the answer because it's only half an answer. More money at what cost? Yeah. Anyone can have more money if you go rob a bank or steal. You break the law, you can have more money. But at what cost, right? And so the bigger picture is what are the terms in which I want to live my life? And that matters because if I don't like to tout my accomplishments or anything because it feels like I'm bragging. I don't like to brag. But if I had to be like the biggest accomplishment I'm most proud of in my business career, it would be very simply doing it for 18 years.
Yeah.
And I've done what I do now for 18 years or some evolution of it for 18 years without getting burnt out, without being, I got to walk away. I hate this. I'm leaving. And a lot of people with whatever career path they do, they can't say they've been doing something for 18 years. And it's because I put myself first, not in a selfish way, but like, who am I? Rather for the listener, who are you? What are your values? What's important to you? What's your personality like? And are you building a business that supports that or robs you of that? And when you align that business to your values and your temperament, your personality, it doesn't feel like work. You're doing what you love. You know what I mean?
Exactly what I teach with budgeting. I'm always like, if you align your money with what's important to you, it doesn't feel like budgeting anymore, right?
It's true. It's so true.
Yeah.
So you got it. That's why it's business by design because it's life by design.
Yes. Yeah. And it's funny. So I got approached by a mom at our elementary school, and she asked me if I wanted to help put on the school play next year. And my first reaction was, no way, I don't have time for that. Like I run a business. I don't have time to help with the school play. And went home and thought about it some more. And I was like, what am I doing? Like I created this business so that I can do that. And like, this is way more important to me. Like my kids are only going to be in elementary school for so many years. And so I actually went back to her and I was like, hey, I want to take that back. Like I'm going to do it because if I have to give up those important things to build a business, it's not worth it to me. Right. I would rather like stay where I'm at, not build, and be able to experience, like, I want to be able to do that and have the business for forever. I don't want to have to pick and choose.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
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 That's man, that's so important. And that's why it just comes back to that. Like, this is a marathon, and I think I think what's something that served me that I don't see in a lot of people is I'm a very long-term thinker. So I make decisions for my life or my business on a very long-term scale versus like right now, this month, this week, this is the decision. And I think if we took a little bit more of that approach into like, what is the life and the business I'm truly building, and realizing over time what that makes available for you. Someone goes, "Oh, I only make 100K a year." Or he's like, "Yeah, but 100K growing by 5 to 10% year after year for the next 10 years is incredible. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's amazing." So, I want people to see it from that vantage point.
Yeah. Yeah. So speak to this. There's a mom listening to this podcast
Mhm.
who is thinking that this is what they want. They would like to do something like this. Um, what would you say to her? What would you like? How would you help her move through that?
Yeah. So there's a question that we need to answer first that I can never answer for anybody. I couldn't answer it for Rachel. I've never been able to answer it for customer because it's none of my business. It's the most important question because it's the starting point, and it's, who am I here to serve?
Mhm.
And you can't be here to serve everybody. You try to be everything for everyone, you end up being nothing for no one. But there's someone here you're here to help. And Rachel is very clear. It's like, I'm here to help other moms. And once you decide that, you're off to the races. Because the second question is, what do they need help with?
Yeah.
And when you can start to answer that question, what is birthed or arises from that answer is the first ingredient, the most essential ingredient. Again, this is 18 years of mastery and working with a lot of people. Nothing is more important than this ingredient right here. You get this wrong, you're dead in the water. You cannot go any further without this piece. And that is the inception of the offer.
Hmm.
Everything starts with the offer. You don't have a business. I asked someone was recently like, how do I, because we were talking about purpose and passion and doing what you love. And someone's like, how do you tell the difference between an offer and a business, or excuse me, their hobby and a business? And we all know the answer. You can love both things, but only one does what? Makes money. So how does one make money? One makes money when they have an offer. It's like, I know this is so simple, but you're not going to make money if you don't have an offer. I mean, sure, there's ways to make money, but to really have your own business where you're in control, you have something for sale. And
Hmm.
all great offers, and by the way, to have a great business, it must be a great offer.
Yes.
All great offers are tapping into the pre-existing problems of that person that you're here to serve. So if you just say, who am I here to serve? And you go, what is it that they're struggling with? What problems do they have? What is it that they already want? What is it that has them lay in bed at night and go, gosh, I wish I had a solution to this. It's just nagging me, pulling at me, bugging me. I'm struggling with this. And you can say, I can help. I can help. 3 magic words. Then you have an offer. And what we need to do is in your first 90 days and no longer. And I don't care if you have 10 kids, in your first 90 days, we have to get that offer out. And
Yeah.
again, you can give me all the excuses in the world, because I've heard every excuse. I love the excuses because the excuses are just thoughts. They're just thoughts. They're just strung together sentences of words in your brain that you just blurt out. Like, yeah, but I'm just starting. I don't have an audience. I'm too busy. I don't have the time. These are just thoughts. And we feed the thoughts, we become a self-fulfilling prophecy. We don't do it.
Hmm.
But there's always a way. There's always a way. And if we say, I am putting this offer out in 90 days, no matter what, then you will. Period. You will find a way, because that's how powerful you are. So if you say, I don't have the time, then you will not find the time. If you say, I don't have an audience, then you will not have an audience. So we are our thoughts. Okay. We are the thoughts that we feed. We are the thoughts that we choose to believe. That's how powerful we are. And we say, despite how small my audience is, despite how new I am in business, despite how unready I feel, despite how busy I am as a mom, I am still going to find a way to put this offer out there, even if it means I just get to help one person right now. That's the type of person I want to work with, because as they say at the gym, I can't do your push-ups for you. Well, I can't do your mental gymnastics for you. I can just give you the plan and you either do it or not. And I love that Henry Ford quote, classic, which is whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And I am wildly more impressed and give all the credence and kudos in the world to the person that overcame all of the noise, the distractions of the mind, and the limitations to produce a couple of sales over someone else that's been doing it a long time and made a ton of money. Because that's like what you said, that's the real game here. Is to say, I had these circumstances, I had these limitations, I had these thoughts, and I chose to do it anyway. And I put something out there. It was scary. I was shaking in the boots the whole time. What am I doing? What am I doing? Am I wasting time? What if no one buys this? The what if, all that stuff. And I did it anyways. And that says something about that individual. And that's a really beautiful thing. So that's why, like, in our community, we don't celebrate who did the biggest or the best. Like that, who cares about that? We celebrate who overcame the biggest obstacles, who faced the biggest battles. And that is what we should be celebrating. If you say, I did it, and I did it in 90 days, and I don't know how I did it, and it was messy, and I made 100 mistakes, but I did it. That is worth celebrating, and that's what we need to do, and that's how we need to approach this, because the time is now. And I think I've just become I care a lot, so I've become a really good coach, and I can just see all the bullshit, and there's a lot of bullshit, and the bullshit manifests as inaction and not doing, and not doing and not doing and not ready because I'm not ready, and I'm not ready to do it because I'm not ready. And you'll never feel ready. You'll never feel ready. And you know what's one of the most common things, and I bet you could say this too, Rachel, is that when you went and did your first big launch or your first big promotion, you went through everything, you prepped, you trained, you planned, and then you probably said one of the most common things that we hear all the time, which is, no amount of training could have actually prepared me enough to just do it. At some point, I just had to do it and kind of figure out and learn along the way. And that's life. That's life, right? So I want whoever wants to do it to be ready to put something out there in 90 days and to realize that it can be easy and simple. So we did a series on my podcast, and I hope your listeners, if that's cool, that they can
Totally
have this as like supplementary material.
Yes.
It was a diary entry, 8 20-minute diary entries documenting me creating a brand new product. I've had an idea. It's been in my desire, like my own nudge. So I'm my own student right now. No joke. I'm not even joking. I'm my own student, saying there's a new product birthing from me that I really want to put out there in the world. And I decided to document it. And I did it in 8 episodes. And really, it's like 5 episodes, because 3 of them were like answering Q&A. 1 episode was just saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, right? So like 5 weeks of work. It really took place over 3 or 4 weeks in total, when I went down to it. And it documented me launching a new product for the first time. And the number one feedback that people started sharing with me, which made me so happy, is they said, I didn't realize it actually could be this simple. And so complication is the ego's way of getting you to procrastinate and stall doing the things that scare you. So here's the results. I don't know if you've heard did you hear the results yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So
I'm still pissed though. I'm still pissed because I didn't get in. So we might have fun about this after the episode.
Okay, we'll talk about it after. You can yell at me after.
Okay.
Okay. So I said 50 spots for this new program. $1,000. And then I said, hey, if you want to like promise and agree to give me a testimonial, I'll take 300 off the price. So people either paid 1,000 or 700. I said 50 spots. So I had a team member press send on the email and then logged in to Kajabi to check, and it was already at 116 sales in less than 30 seconds. So she had to close it down. So we close to 2.5x our goal in 30 seconds, sold it out. And that's really cool. Easy for you, James, blah, blah, blah. You have an audience. Okay. But I'm following the same process that I teach our students. Now here's all I did. I'll just, you listen to the Course Chronicles and it'll tell you what I did. But I sent out the first email that said, hey, I'm doing this thing. Let me know if you're interested. To all those people that said, yes, I'm interested, I sent an email to them saying, here's what the offer is. And then on the day I said I was going to release it, I said, here's the link to buy it. 3 emails. And that was it. Okay. Now, no sales page, no launch, no webinars, no ads, and no product.
Yeah.
We're building it from the ground up. I got the first module done, and then we're doing live calls and stuff's being added every week. That was it. Now I'm also doing that in the middle of my busiest time of year, which is where we're going to host an event to like 70,000 business owners where we rent out a studio and we do all this. I mean, it is a very crazy busy time of year. And I was able to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I was trying to show people. It's like, if I can do this during this very busy time, blah, 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 blah. So there is 2 phases. And that was phase 2, which is make the offer. And I could do that with 3 emails in as little as a week time. And so then if you spent the first, 4, 8, 11 weeks building an audience, and then you're in business.
Yeah.
So here's what people don't understand. I sound like an older person here because I go, back in my day, Rachel, you have no idea how.
Grandpa.
But it's true. In order to like have an online business, I had to learn programming.
Yeah.
So I read a book on Dreamweaver, which is like the software used to code websites, covered 950 pages. I read it twice, cover to cover, because back when I started, if you wanted an online business, you had to build a website. Today, you can go to ChatGPT and you can have ChatGPT write code for you for whatever you want in about 36 seconds. I mean, it's insane. So it's a lot easier today. And I just, here's an example. Building an audience back then was a lot harder. We didn't have ads and we didn't have social media.
Mm-hmm.
Today, the way the algorithms are set up, as you know, they don't care nearly as much of who you are, which is what everyone's still thinking. But who am I to be doing this?
Mm-hmm.
The algorithms aren't asking that question. They're saying, who's got good content? Oh, you do? Oh, you just started last week, but you got a great video. I have seen accounts blow up because they just came out of the gate with brand new accounts, but unbelievable content, and they blow up.
Mm-hmm.
So the algorithms don't care who you are. They care what you got.
Yeah.
And I've watched people build targeted audiences in their first 90 days, short form video, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, because they have great content. And if you spent your first 90 days building up great content on one of these platforms, gotta be willing to do that. And then driving people to an interest list, a priority list for your first cohort. That's what my sister did. My sister only did 30 days. And she's like, I just want to get one person in. Like I said, well, she got 9. We're in business. And then you're never looking back. That's the beautiful thing is if I can get you, the way I teach is, if people cuss me under the breath all the time because I just want to push you into deep end. Because what I know to be true is that once you get that first sale, you get that first customer to pay you for your content, your expertise, your knowledge, your coaching, there's no going back. There's no going back. As long as you stay on the sidelines, you can think and overcomplicate and hem and haw about, maybe I'm actually going to do a book. No, I'm going to do a course. You know what? And you can be spending the next 3 years of your life doing that. But once you get someone to pay you, there's no going back. Here's an example of this. We ran this free training workshop on helping people just come up with their first product idea, right? And I did that so fast with people. It was like, people are like, I asked them what, on a scale 1 to 10, like, where's your level of clarity? People are like 11. And then I
Mm,
asked a follow-up question. I said, how long have you been waiting for this level of clarity? Rachel, I had people say 7 years.
so sad.
I know.
So sad.
I know. And I hope they'll stay with that and launch it. But people are wasting way too much time thinking about all the things instead of just getting it out there and helping people. So
Right. And imagine all the people that, not just for your own self, but imagine all the people that you could have helped in those 7 years, the lives
oh
that you
yeah.
could have changed.
Imagine how much you'd grown by then.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
that was kind of my experience, was like within 2 months of joining BBD, I had launched the first iteration of what I have today. It's
yeah.
changed and morphed over time as I've learned my market and
I would
learned
say it's evolved is a more
evolved.
accurate. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
You
That's
didn't
true.
like go in a completely different,
That's
you
true.
allowed it to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different iteration of what it was at
Yes.
the beginning, but it all started with like, this is how I can help. This is what people are telling me they need help with.
Mm.
So let's create a container where I can do that and let it evolve from there. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know, like, I remember before I went on my first webinar, texting my sister and being like, this is so scary. Like, I am so scared. And I just ran another webinar a couple weeks ago and we were texting before that one. And I said, wow, I feel so different now than I did when I
Crazy.
first, because I've done it and because I feel confident in what I do and I know what we offer and how amazing it is and how it helps people. But you have to start somewhere, you know, you have to start scared. You have to be
Yes.
okay that it might not turn out how you wanted it to be, but it could be bigger and better. Like, what if it fails? But what if it is bigger and better than you expected it to be?
So a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to say two things really quick on that. You said the word confidence. A lot of people are looking for confidence, right?
Yeah.
They don't really understand what confidence is. Confidence is the internal state we feel in the body when our brain has an accurate prediction of how the future is going to turn out. So you just said it. You're like, at first it was so scary. Now I've done it so much. I know how it's going to go and it's all going to be okay. So I'm confident. So anything you do for the first time, there's going to be fear, nervousness, or an experience of a lack of confidence because it's new. The more you do it, the more you know, oh, it's going to be okay. Oh, this is easier than I thought. Oh, this is actually really fun. Let's do it again. And you just cultivate confidence. So confidence comes through the experience of doing it over and over and over again. So your brain starts to accurately predict how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and there was something else I was going to say, but that I'll at least say that.
That was good. That was
it's
good.
gone. Yeah. Anyway, in and out. That's what happens. So
Okay, so somebody, you know, you're doing this training right now, the one
Yeah.
training that you do once a year. It's where I started. It's what changed my life. I said it before. I said it last week in the episode that joining that training was a trajectory change for me, right? It started me on a new path, one that I wasn't expecting, but has turned into, you know, the best change of my life. Can you talk a little bit about that training, and we can put the link for it in the show notes for people to join, but can you, talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. You know, it's hard to only talk a little bit about it. But I'll just say this is if you're sitting here listening to this and you're like, yes, more please. Yes, teach me how. That's what the workshop is. Okay. So it's an entire breakdown of how we built our business. It's teaching you a very solid business foundation, a marketing strategy, and then it's all wrapped in this container of an invitation for your own personal development, your own personal expansion into this role. And it's anchored into this identity concept of the digital CEO, which is the role, the primary role that your business needs of you to be in. And what I really aim to do is change the way people look at business, look at sales, look at money, and look at themselves. It's a very personal, transformational experience. That's why I ask people, come live, do the exercise, do the work, and show up and do it. And people come out the other end, they're a different person. And that's what I'm here to do. So I can guarantee you, if you show up live, if you do the work, the exercises and the journaling and we have some like eyes closed processes and stuff like that, you will walk away at the end of that, you're a different person. And when you're a different person, you see life through a set of new eyes. So you'll see the potential, the possibilities, a bigger, better, brighter future for yourself just by doing that. But you'll also walk away with this is the plan. This is what I need, and there it is. Now, if you want to go on your own and do it, great. If you want to be a part of our coaching containers and get our AI integrations, our software, our resources, and our processes, and work closer with me, that's great too. I encourage anybody that says, hey, if you're going to do this, you should, in inviting people to invest in themselves, you should be investing in yourself as well. But I want people to know it's a whole complete system. It's a whole complete training that you're getting on the rise. And then it just becomes like, do you want to do it yourself? You want to do it with somebody? And both are wonderful. One takes a little bit longer, but hey, that's to each their own. But you'll walk away with a complete plan. And I think that's the most important piece. The trainings are long. So you'll get the
welcome to James's world.
Well, I mean, I have a lot to say, and I think I don't like to leave any stone unturned.
Yeah.
I can't do what I need to do in an hour. So the trainings are about 2.5 hours each. So buckle up for that. There are replays, of course. So you come for what you can. If you're like, I gotta go, the replays are there and watch it, but consume the entire experience, because we have, and Rachel's one of them. Can I share your message? I have it. I saved it.
The testimonial?
So I found a message from Rachel, and here it is. I'm going to bring it up right now so I have it. Oh wait, hold on here. Let's see. There it is. I got to expand it because it was all small. This is from last summer. And she said, you said, watching the rise this year has made me really reflect on what has happened over the past 12 months. I watched it as I was struggling, frustrating mom who wanted so bad to have a business. Do you remember writing this?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But I was confused on what steps to take and how to get there. I thought in order to have a business, I'd have to give up time with my 4 children, and I was scared shitless of failure. And you joined us, became a client last year. Today, I hit my first 6-figure year as an entrepreneur. 6 figures as an entrepreneur. It's so serendipitous that it happened during this year's training, because it's like I've come full circle. Watching today and thinking about where I was last year, I had no idea how I would hit my big goal of 100K. So that was the goal you set for yourself in the training last year?
2023.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The year before. Yeah.
So I heard this. I think you shared it on a podcast episode. I heard it and I thought, I'm going to go see where we are in 2025. And so first year, 100K. This year, we're going to hit 400K total, like since 2023 to 2025. So in 1 year, we did 300K. And it's like, to hear that first year, and as you were talking about this training, I was like, I'm going to watch it again. I watch it every year too, because I'm a different person, right? I'm a different business owner than I was even last year and in 2023, and I get different things from it. And so it's like every year, it's kind of fun to go back and see what's different, what's changed, how have we grown.
And it makes me so happy because you know what, Rachel, I'm a different person too.
Yeah.
I've learned and grown so much in the past 12 months. My business is very different in the last 12 months. And there's so, like, my whole this weekend is like, what else am I adding, changing, moving around and putting into this training that needs to come through and needs to be heard by people, And so I love it. And we have a special invitation for all of our existing BBD members to come back and rewatch it. And they do, because it really, for people that are already in business, it's like, it's an audit. It's a check-in. It's like getting your physical, like we go to the doctor and we're like, we get the checkup. It's like, why aren't we doing that with the business? So if you're new, come, because we meet you where you're at. There's a way in which it is taught. I can't explain it, but it was the intent I set out to create. As I say, I want a person who started yesterday and someone at 7 figures to be sitting next to each other in the same room and both have their minds blown. Yeah. Because it's not teaching, like it's just teaching something that's unique to everybody at every level that they're at. And that, I think that's the funnest part about the training. So it's very, reflective and has us as go in and look at what we're what our own blind spots, limitations are, why we're really called to do this type of work, and how to turn that into a business. So um,
Yeah.
it's a fun experience. I said it's hard for me to talk about it in just a small container,
Yep.
but that's what it is, and it's totally free. It's totally free. I think the best compliment I can get, obviously, you have someone like Rachel. She wrote that post last year about the previous year, but people say they've bought the $1,000 courses, and they don't get nearly as much value from those programs they do from this free training. So
Yeah.
that's why we do it.
Yeah. Totally. 100%. And I'm going to be there. I hope you'll come. I hope whoever's listening to this, if you've made it this far into the episode, just you have nothing to lose, right? By
Right.
showing up and
Exactly.
seeing what it is.
Even if it inspires you to go do something completely differently,
Yeah.
worth it.
Best investment.
it.
Your time is the best investment you could make right now
Yeah.
in yourself.
Amen.
Well, thank you so much, James.
Thanks, Rachel.
Is there anything else that you're thinking of? Anything else you want to share before we wrap it up?
No, I think that's it. I really think that's it. I always have so much, and I could go on for days and whatnot. But if I think, Rachel, you hit the nail on the head. If you're still listening, you can't discredit that. There's something calling you to be intrigued by this and want to do it. And I'm just a firm believer of find your coaches, find your mentors, find the people that have been there, done that. Not because you need to put them on a pedestal or, worship or anything. No, don't do that. But because they're going to get you where you want to go faster.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
When I made that decision that I will always invest in myself and always invest in mentors, whether it was free or paid, it's investing with your time or any type of energy, it catapulted me. So if you're not liking me, or I'm giving off a bad vibe for you or something, like, okay, go find your person. I'm not everyone's person. I'm not, and you won't be that person for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's wonderful. I'm just being me. I want you to be you. And if you're resonating with this, buckle up, because it's going to be a really fun week. There's a lot we do there, and I think you're going to get a ton of value.
Yeah. And because I'm the one inviting you into James's world, because I'm the one here sharing about him, like, I want to be a resource as well, right? I'm so passionate about the work that I do, building, like I've talked about how amazing building a business is. And so, I also love being in James's world because I get to help other people who have questions or who need things. So this is also an invitation to anyone who's listening, like, reach out to me specifically and ask me questions. Because James is a very popular person, and sometimes it's hard to get him. Sometimes it's hard when he's got so many people that need his help. But there are so many people in his community that are successful in business and willing to help, and I am one of them, and I'm here as service as well, because I want this for as many women as possible.
That's awesome,
because it's changed our family and our life so much. So
yeah. No, that's beautiful. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate you saying that.
And thank you, James, for being here. We'll link up your podcast in the show notes. James's podcast is one of my favorite. It's one of the only podcasts that I listen to like every week. So that's saying something.
Thank you.
And we'll link up the link to the training as well. And you can go follow James on social media. James Wedmore, right?
Please do. Yeah, I'm over on Instagram, James Wedmore.
So James has a background in film. You didn't share this. That's his. That was his major. And so I feel like the movies that you craft are unlike anybody else because of your background. And so is Jenny, right? Jenny has that background.
We actually met in college going to film school together, and that's when we first started dating. So for her to come back into my life now has been really beautiful, because we both get to use the creative, visual storytelling and infuse it into the work that we do. So we love making videos of all sorts in the business. It's a really fun aspect for us. So yeah.
Well, we didn't even talk about Jenny and the whole gem that she is, but she'll be at the Rise too.
She'll be there.
So
she's coming
people
on
can
the
meet
stage.
her. Yeah, she is another gem of a human and is amazing as well. So
okay,
thanks, James, for coming, and
my pleasure.
We'll see you in a couple days.
Yeah. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.